What if I could make your business more valuable without you making one additional sale than what you currently make? I know that sounds backwards, doesn't even make sense, but the entire small business, digital marketing, entrepreneurial space is all centered around getting you to focus on the wrong metric. Like everyone online is optimizing for the wrong number, right? Their entire gospel, the growth gospel of the interwebs, is scale, which most of them use incorrectly in terms of the definition. More sales, more sales, more sales, more sales. Here's how you can make more sales. And then hit the next revenue milestone. How do we make more revenue, more revenue, more revenue? Top line revenue is what everyone is posting about, how they made $1 million, how they made $1 million in a month, how they, etc., grew, from $1 to $5 million in the last 6 months, etc. That is the entire focus. Their course is going to teach you how to do XYZ so that you can make more sales, so that you can grow your revenue. Whatever it is that they're selling, that's the outcome that they think that you want, because that is the lie that you've been sold, is that that's the way to create more growth and growth for the business, right? And the reason that this advice works and spreads so quickly and so easily is that revenue is a very clean and braggable number. Like, I made $1 million. It's like, did you make $1 million? Right? But it makes a great ad. It makes for great marketing. I'm not gonna, lie about that. It is tempting. And so many people fall into that trap, self included. I have fallen into that trap. I have gone, wow, that is what I need, right? That is what I need, whatever they're selling, because it's an easy, braggable, shareable, sexy number, right? Well, I'm Adrienne, by the way, forgot to introduce myself. This is Sorta Bossy, so welcome to the show. Excited to have you here and to be talking more about the real value of your business and what we can actually focus on as founders who want to build assets. Okay. Revenue is clean. It's braggable. It's sexy. People like it. They want to buy it. Right. But when we talk about things like efficiency and owner independence and cost savings, I mean, you can already tell, like, those things don't sell the same way, because you want to see the clean number. You want to see, but show me the $1 million. Like, well, I can, but that takes you a little bit longer to see the fruits of your labor pay off, but they will pay off in multiples when you do this work. And actually, it doesn't take as long as the more sales, more scale, hit the next revenue milestone. Those things are actually really hard to do. They're showing you, they're like one example of someone doing that, or they are also example of one. Nothing kills me more. Oh my God, could my eyes roll farther back into my head than when someone is marketing or selling a program or a class, and literally they are sample size of one, data point of one. They have done it not even for someone else, which I would value more than they've done it for themselves. Oh, I did it for myself, so I could show you how to do that. No. Have you helped someone else do it? Because doing it and coaching and teaching someone else to do it is two entirely different skill sets. You could be a great basketball player. Not me. I'm not a basketball player. Never have been, never will be. You could be a great basketball player and not actually be very good at teaching someone else how to play basketball. Okay? You could be great at making $1 million with your sales strategy and not be able to teach someone else how to do that. So well, first of all, this is like a side note bonus due diligence tip that I'm giving you. If you're ever trying to work with someone or thinking about working with someone, if their case study and sample size is just themselves, if they have done this for themselves, then buyer beware. Like, that doesn't mean that they know how to do it for other people. Have they been able to replicate that for other people with a strategy and a system and a process that is repeatable, not just vibe, right? That's very important. Okay. But that is what a lot of them are using for their marketing to sell you into the thing that seems so sexy on the internet that I know you want because it seems easy. But I was talking to my partner about this because one of our friends is like, oh my gosh, like, really want to, be a content, like I'm just going to make internet money. And I'm like, oh, that sounds great. I would love to make internet money. And I do make internet money. But the difference is that I've been doing this for 12 years, number one. The other difference is I understand that making internet money is also work. And I do not make internet money through content creation. Okay. Content creation is it looks really easy, but it is not easy, right? Like the majority of people cannot do that and do it well. So what you're mistaking for like easy internet money is watching people's content. Watching people's content is easy. Making content that compels people to follow you and then buy from you is much harder, right? Or to build a following to a point where brands want to do business with you. That's an entirely different skill set than just watching content. Like I give so much props to these internet influencers who record themselves all day. I can't even remember to take one picture somewhere, Okay. So here's what we're saying. Like building something that people value and will follow and will pay you money for, and like making more sales is not an easy button. It's not an easy button, right? So whatever they're selling to you is often not as good as it seems. Okay. But that becomes the trap of our singular focus the entire time that we're building a business. Right. And you can sometimes do that. Like sometimes people do it and they do it well. I have a lot of clients who have grown and scaled their business big, like in incredible ways, doubled their revenue, 10x their revenue. I had a client who went from 0 to $23 million in annual sales in less than 3 years. Okay. So this can work. I don't want you to think that this whole episode is like, oh my gosh, nothing that I'm doing works. No. Most of my clients have grown and scaled so quickly that they actually come to me because they're underwater. They're like, oh my God, like I now know the pain of what you've been talking about. And now I need your help. And what my hope is that we can get you to a point where you can start to see the value of this before you get into that pain, because that is a pain like no other. It is a pain that I do not wish on maybe my worst enemy, but not my enemies, okay? Or not people that I just, have neutrality towards. I kid. Scaling too quickly is incredibly painful, right? But here's the thing, and this is what happens to most of them, right? You can double your revenue, 10x your revenue, and actually end up more exhausted, more trapped, and not any richer than you were before, because usually making more sales with your current business model just routes more overhead and more chaos straight through you. So this is when my client came to me, he was in so much pain from that 0 to $23 million a year scaling that they did. He was like, I'm struggling, right? Because at a personal level and at a professional level, right? I'm not sleeping. I'm not eating. I don't have time for anything. I have so much money. I can plug plug all the holes in my business with my dollars, but everything is still leaking. And it's all leaking through me, right? Like I am the bottleneck to even more growth, and I am in so much pain with the growth that we created. So it's like the thing that you're wishing for, asking for, wanting, is the business operationally set up for it? Because I don't want you to be in that kind of pain when you come to me. Now, if you're already in that kind of pain, still come to me. But you don't have to be in so much pain to be thinking about this. Like you can be a sophisticated, smart business owner and go, oh, if what I actually want is double the sales, is 10x the revenue, is 5 times the profitability, is this much bigger business than what I currently have. If I want a business that brings me this kind of money and it looks like this, then operationally, what do I need to improve, right? What do I need to improve? Because if this is if this is something that you've always focused on, what I call revenue maxing, where we just max the revenue, This is not like a discipline problem. This is not like a you need to work harder problem. Working harder will not fix this problem. I assure you that, okay? When you scale and grow, you can't scale chaos. Like you're just going to double everything that's currently existing. And this is what happens. This is the trap that a lot of business owners fall into, this mindset of like, oh, when I hit this number, when I get to $1 million in sales, or when I get to this many team members, or when I get to $5 million, then things will be easier for me. It's like, no, they won't. No, they won't. They absolutely will not unless you change how you're operating. Okay. And that is what I do with clients. You have to change how you're operating, both at an identity level, how you're showing up, how you're leading the team, how you're making decisions, how you're answering their questions, how you feel about yourself, how you think about yourself, what you believe about yourself as you start stepping away. And then from an operational standpoint, you also have to fix that system, right? But revenue is this vanity metric, right? And what we want to focus on is value. That is the asset. That is where your potential for an exit, or for an out of office lifestyle, or for scalability actually lives, right? So we don't want to revenue max anymore. We want to value max, right? So value maxing, what we are optimizing for when we're talking about value maxing, are the margins, right? And the efficiency. My whole background is in operational efficiency from the corporate world. My whole job was to figure out, how can we create better margins here? How can we create cost savings here? This is like a number that most small business owners never think about, never talk about, never put a dollar sign to. And it is one of the top metrics that corporations are looking at when they're looking at their organization. They're looking at, how do we make it more efficient? And what is the cost savings that creates for us, right? I've had clients where we looked at their calendar, not even the systems, not even the processes in the business, but just the calendar and the team's calendar. And just by removing specific meetings for everyone on the team, because they didn't need to be having those meetings. And this was a team of about 15 at the time. Okay. So there's a lot of dollars in there if you can remove waste. My whole job is to remove waste, remove things you don't actually need, because that will not only help you create cost savings and create more efficiency, expand the margin, but it'll also help you grow faster, because now you're focused on the things that actually help you move, instead of all this waste that's just accumulating inside the business, right? So when I was looking at their calendar for them as the leadership team, and then the entire individual contributor team, we had a cost savings of over $165,000 that we saved. That's real money that they were able to put towards billable hours, because we got them off of meetings that they didn't need to be on. Like, there is real money in cost savings, but most of the small business owners that I've worked with, they don't understand that number, or they're not looking at that number, or it's not on the radar of goal setting. But thinking about value maxing, we're focusing on how widening our margins. How do we create more profitability with the business that we currently have? And part of that is creating more efficiency. We focus on owner independence, because that will create more efficiency and more growth opportunity. And then we focus on building something that's transferable instead of just a job that you now own, right? Like, being a business owner is oftentimes just a job that a buyer does not want to purchase, right? So when we're thinking about value maxing, we're looking at your business as an asset, not just as a revenue vanity metric that you get to post about on the internet because you made $1 million this month. I don't care that you made $1 million this month unless the business is highly profitable, maximized in efficiency, has big margins, and is owner independent, right? Talk to me then. And that's something we can build when we do this work, right? So you want to think about, like, if I disappeared for 30 days, would the business grow? Would it coast along, like, just bumping along? Or would it completely collapse, right? And that answer is the real value of your business, not the revenue is not the real value of your business. The answer to that question is, right? So let me give you a little bit of math and then we'll wind it down. So 2 businesses, okay? These are example businesses, but these are the types of businesses that I have worked with over and over and over again over the last 15 years. Okay. So $1 million a year in revenue, same starting point. They both have $1 million, right? Owner A focused on revenue maxing, right? More sales, more sales, more sales, revenue. Show me how to make more revenue because that is sexy. I want to put it on an ad, right? They grew sales by 20. Amazing. That's hard to do. And you did it, right? So they grew sales from 20%. Now their revenue is 1.2 million, but the margins stayed the same. Okay. So margins stayed flat and the business still runs on her because she didn't focus on value maxing. She focused on revenue. She focused on revenue maxing. So she didn't focus on building more efficiencies. So margins are the same. She didn't focus on creating owner independence. So the business still runs all through her. Now her profit is $240,000 for the year. So it went from $200,000 to $240,000. This business, if we were to do a valuation of the business, is worth approximately, now you need to go, like this is a generalization of around what you're going to get with these numbers. Okay. It's going to change based on industry and the market that you're in and a whole bunch of other things. But this is a generalization. This business is worth about $600,000 because we're looking at a multiple of the profit of about 2.5. So 2.5 times the profit, which was 240. Our business is worth around $600,000. A $1.2 million business worth around $600,000, okay? To a buyer, but also to you. That's what it's worth to you. If you needed to step away, if you could no longer do this anymore, this is the position that your business is in because of what you chose to focus on. This is owner B, okay? Path B, this person value maxed, okay? They were like, all right, my revenue is decent. I'm at $1 million a year. That sounds great. What I want to focus on next before we continue to scale it up is I want to improve my margins and my efficiency so that I'm not scaling inefficiencies. I'm not scaling things that don't scale well and that bottleneck with me and that are going to just be more work without more money because our margins are the same, right? So $1 million, and they increased their margins from 20% to 30% over the course of the year, which is very doable. I worked with a client a few years ago, and in 90 days, we actually increased their profit margin by 13 percentage points. And that's just in 90 days, right? So going from 20% to 30% through removing owner dependency, finding systems to create more efficiency within, creating cost savings, building the business to run without her. These are the things that she focused on. Now her profit is $300,000 without one additional sale. All like, okay, $1 million revenue, but because we moved the margins, we focused on efficiency, she actually takes home more money. The business is more profitable than the $1.2 million business. And you know that was more work. Trying to get more and more sales, that's harder to do. And now, because she focused also on efficiencies, which is very sexy to a buyer. See, it's not so sexy as like a ad on the internet of like, buy my course, it'll help you be more efficient. But it is sexy to the people who matter, which are investors and buyers. Those people love efficient businesses. And you know what else they love? They love a business that doesn't need the owner. That is what they're looking for. And because of that, it actually increases the multiple that someone will pay for it to 4.5, a 4.5 multiple versus a 2.5 multiple. And because our profit increased, because we focused on improving our efficiencies and our margins, this business, owner B, is now worth $1.35 million. Same business, zero extra sales, more than double the value, $750,000 difference between those two, and a higher profit on top of all of that. So even if you never decided to sell it, never decided to scale it, your profitability is already more. You're already making more money just by focusing on the right thing. Okay. So multiples are real. This is how businesses actually sell. This is how businesses actually scale. Okay. These are real values that could be valuable to you if you focus on the right thing. Now, let me be honest with you. There are a few cases when revenue maxing is genuinely the right move for people. Okay. I'm going to go through them very quickly. This is not the focus of our episode today. But if this is of interest to you, please feel free, reach out. I do work with clients on some of this as well, because they're not just looking for revenue maxing. There are other pieces that a buyer is going to be looking for. But sometimes, and for 99.9% of small business owners and founders, this is not true for you. But revenue maxing might be right for you if you are raising venture capital, if you're doing land grab markets where like being the first is the important thing, or if you're deliberately sizing up to attract a PE buyer, right? So those are like the very few use cases of when revenue maxing maybe is the right fit for you. But for everybody else, you should actually be focused on value maxing, okay? So for the overwhelming majority of business owners, none of those things usually apply, right? You're not raising venture, you're not trying to attract a PE buyer, you're not doing a land grab market. Like, so chasing revenue it means that you're optimizing for a game that you're not even playing. You're playing soccer and everybody else is playing basketball. Okay. So this is something I need you to think about when you're thinking about your growth, when you're thinking about your goals for the business. I want you to think about, do I have the right goals in place? What do I actually want from my business? And am I focused on the right things? Do I have the right mentor? Do I have the right people in my world? Am I taking the right courses to actually do what I want it to do? Right? Because the goal for most of us was never just this bigger top line number, this like vanity metric. For so many business owners, it's a business that is worth more as an asset and actually needs you less. Like, what if you could build a business that is worth more, is sellable, is scalable, and requires less of you? Right? So I want you to stop maxing your revenue and start maxing your value. If you are unsure where you kind of sit as it relates to the value of your company right now, or the owner dependency or independence that you currently have, we have a free exit diagnostic that you can do. Okay. It doesn't mean that you have to exit your business, but it will tell you where you have too much owner dependency inside the business. There's like 6 different pillars and you answer a few questions in each. It's less than 5 minutes. And then if you want, you can go to the next step of that, which will be to enter a couple financial pieces of information, very high level. And it will also tell you, based on your owner dependence, how much the business would be worth today and what the business would be worth if you did the work to remove that owner dependency and create more efficiency inside the business. So if you want that, it's absolutely free. You can go to level11leaders.com/exit and you can grab and take that assessment. Like I said, it's less than 5 minutes, probably 20, 25 questions, but they're all multiple choice. It's super easy. And if you want, feel free to it'll shoot you out this like web map of where your weaknesses and strengths are as it relates to owner dependency. You can feel free, message it to me on Instagram. I'm happy to take a peek and give you any, just of my thoughts, free tips based on your output from that. So I'll put the link in the show notes to the exit readiness diagnostic, which is an amazing tool. I want you to use it. And then also my Instagram, which is at Adrienne Dorson. Feel free to message me if you have questions about any of this. I would love to answer them. And we will see you next Tuesday on another episode of Sorta Bossy.